Okay, we're here in the community of Cox. We're here at the Church of God in Cox and Beaumont, which is one of the polling stations here in Nevis in the St. John's constituency. And I'm here with the NRP candidate, Mr. Hensley Daniel. Mr. Daniel, first of all, how have things been going so far this morning?
Well, we have done the work. We have covered the entire constituency with our work, and we have been working to get the people to the polling station. This is one of the most comprehensive approaches we've used to go door to door to make sure everybody is engaged and present our programs. And it should be easy, but fighting bad governments is never easy. So we are expecting our supporters to come and vote, and those who said they would. Of course, we don't expect people to vote with, we don't expect people to double cross us. They said they would vote for us, and so they would vote for us because they don't like the double salary and the double dipping. They don't like the fact that the economy is shrinking. They don't like the fact that there are no opportunities for training and development for young people. Those are some cornerstones of our program. And so, that being the case, we expect them to do accordingly.
Right.
Okay.
Now, what are some of the? Did you come across any challenges, any irregularities, or any matters of concern while you were out this morning?
Well, I saw somebody who should have been off the voters list registered. I'm voting here. The objection process was done. Person was never registered, never lived in this district, lives in the United States, and lives in the United States. And so I'm going to call the supervisor of elections and have that vote has to be annulled.
And this is one of the names that were objected to by the NRP over the weekend.
Yes, not only weekend. Before we registered sometime earlier. I think early up in the new year. Early up in the year he was here. And we objected to it, and the objection was carried, so he still reaches here. It's a major problem.
And his name is on the list?
Yeah, I just saw him voting, because I know him.
Right.
You see, and I mean, this is the kind of foolishness which happens if the electoral office must do its work. I know the person, I know we carried the objection, and I know the objection was upheld. So how do you uphold an objection and yet the person is still voting?
I spoke to Mr. Parry earlier. He raised some concerns about maybe the competence of some of the.
But it is organized. The government intends to use a bunch of people who don't have a clue, instead of using the experienced people to run it. Elections are serious business, Andre.
And you have the same challenge here.
Yeah, I see all these new people in the polling stations. You can't prepare for an election by using so many greenhorns. I'm not saying that you don't bring new people in, but you have a presiding officer who is experienced, then you have a poll clerk who is new, and then in time the poll clerk moves up to become the presiding officer, and so on and so on and so on. But you have to brand new people in the polling station. It's foolishness.
Before you go, I know you have to run. How confident are you that you will take the seat?
We have done the work, and the people have told us they will vote for us. That by its own analysis should bring us the vote.
Right.
Okay? Of course, we know the role of money from the CCA buying the vote and so on, but we are satisfied that the people have indicated to us they will vote for us. Well, that can't be such treachery. That can't be, let me say, I wouldn't like to believe there's such level of deception. They have told us they will vote for us. They have told us why they would vote for us. They have told us there is nothing in the economy to offer them opportunities for employment. The young people are out of school without training. The education system has collapsed, and they want us to support our cause to decriminalize marijuana.
All right. Mr. Hensley Daniel, the constituency for the Nevis Reformation, the candidate rather for the constituency of St. John's for the Nevis Reformation Party, speaking with us about the process here in the Cox Beaumont area. We're here again at the Church of God in Cox Beaumont, where some of the voters are voting here in the St. John's constituency. We'll try to locate the other candidates from the other parties in the other areas. We're going to be heading back out on the road. And we're in the village of Brickhill, which is part of the St. James's constituency. This constituency is being contested by Mr. Alexis Jeffers of the Concerned Citizens Movement and Mr. Virgil Brown of the Nevis Reformation Party. Right throughout the day, we'll be going through the various constituencies in the polling stations and the different polling divisions of the various constituencies to get feedback feedback from the party agents and some of the candidates, if possible, of how things are going. Now, we can give you reports so far in 3 of the polling divisions that we visited. Let's start with the Cox division. We visited there earlier this morning, just after the 10 o'clock hour thereabouts. And the report that we've been getting from the party agents is that there have been a steady flow of persons in the area. At the time we were there, the Concerned Citizens Movement party agent did say that the turnout was moving a bit slow. Not so for the Nevis Reformation Party. They felt that they were getting a constant stream of voters. It fell off a little bit and picked up back after about 10 minutes. So it has been good for the NRP in terms of what they've seen so far. And both parties don't seem to have any major issues with anything pertaining to the voting process. We stopped over then in Gingerland. We went in the Hard Times at the community center there. The party agent for the Concerned Citizens Movement, the only one I saw there at the time, said that he's confident the party will take that box, that polling division, because majority of the persons who have come so far, from his estimation, are supporters of the CCM. There's about 273 voters in that polling division. About 70 of them voted at the time when we arrived, according to his information. And so far he's saying that majority of those who would have showed up would vote for his party. We're now in Brick Hill, and we spoke to a couple of voters here in this area, and they are satisfied with how the process is going so far. Minister Hazel Brandy Williams, who is a member of government, we spoke to her. She's actually in the area. We spoke to her briefly about how things are going, and she's satisfied with the process so far. So apart from the concern raised by the NRP, we haven't come across any major issues. None of the party agents are complaining about anything per se. They're just monitoring the voter turnout and the flow of voters and commenting on that. All right, we're here in the Newcastle area. We're just across the road from the VOGN Primary School, which is one of the polling stations here. We're here with the candidate for the area, for the CCM, Mr. Alexis Jeffers. Mr. Jeffers, how have things been going so far throughout the day?
Well, things have been going steady in the sense that persons have been coming in to vote. I see quite a number of our supporters coming to vote, which is good. But I just want to continue to put out the appeal that people should go and vote. Yeah, whether you're voting for the CCM or the NRP, go out and vote. And there's no need to even suggest that CCM has this covered or have it won. We are going to win it at the end of the day with a massive turnout. And I want persons to just go out and think that we are behind and bring us forward by voting for the CCM. But things have been good so far, Huey.
Right. Now, in terms of the overseas votes, I know there are a number of people who have come in from overseas over the weekend and yesterday. Have you seen any of those persons turning out in this area?
Yeah, I've seen some persons who have been brought in by both parties who are from overseas. They have been voting, and normally they would be some of the first persons to come and vote as well, which is a good thing. So both sides have done their job in that regard. Who wins that side of it is left to be seen. But ultimately, the whole idea is to win an election, whether it's through the local votes or predominantly through the overseas vote. The idea is to get as many votes in and win an election, and that's what we're doing today.
All right. Quickly, well, for most parts, we've seen steady flow of voters in all the constituencies. There was a concern, though, raised by the NRP that the presiding officer and those who were employed in the polling stations were pretty new to the job and they were a bit inexperienced, and that was a little bit of a concern to them. Did you find that as an experience for you?
Well, there have been a bit of a delay in some of the polling stations, but here's what it is. You always have to be replenishing or re-establishing or bringing in new blood. There's nothing wrong with that, and some of the persons who were there before may have had a long run, and for some reason they may not have been available for this time around. But be that as it may, some patience has to be exerted on the part of the voter, and I believe most persons would have been patient today, even though there were some complaints, yes. But the bottom line is, persons under the law are given a period of time, or they must get that time to vote. So even if your employer is making noise with you or not satisfied with the time you're spending in a line, it is not for you to worry about, because you have that right. So, be that as it may, the persons who are learning in this particular election, we're hoping that they're there for the next election. By that time, they would have learned quite a bit and become comfortable with the process. So I don't worry about that. Once persons get a chance to vote, that is my concern, more or less, and not so much the period of time. So that, in a sense, I won't make it an issue, Andre. I just want to say persons are getting a chance to vote, and that is the bottom line. That is the ultimate thing that we want to be done today.
Finally, how confident are you?
Oh, I'm always confident. It's just started beaming. I am hoping that at the end of the day, we would have surpassed whatever numbers we had before. That is the thrust at this point, to maximize the amount of votes we get into the box. And at the end of the day, we're hoping to have a substantial win over here in St. James. We have always won St. James since 1992. I wouldn't want to be the candidate who would have lost that particular stand. So I'm hoping that we'll do excellent at the end of the day, and the numbers seem to suggest that so far.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Alexis Jeffers of the Concerned Citizens Movement, CCM.
I've been around the island, and I've been voting very happy with our turnout, and I'm pretty confident that we will be the government tomorrow.
Now, I spoke to you earlier, and you expressed some concerns about the pace of the process in the polling station.
Yeah, a bit slow, but I also have two other concerns. In Brickhill, I encountered a situation there where a young man wanted to vote for Virgil, told him he was voting for Virgil, and he ended up voting for the other candidates. He wanted to vote for the Battle, there his vote ended up going to the Hammer. And there was an old man who wanted to vote for the Battle, and somehow they overturned it, and he voted for the Hammer. Those two incidents are very, very objectionable. I understand the candidate for NRP, Mr. Virgil Brown, has launched an objection, and I want the public to understand that this was done in the Brickhill box, and that it is objectionable, it's out of order, and people must learn to behave themselves and try not to steal elections.
So what exactly happened? Is it that he made the X for the Battle, and somehow it was...
Neither of them could make the X. Neither of them could make
so
the
they
X.
were asked.
So they
expressed
that they wanted to vote for the Battle. Somehow it didn't happen.
So it seems as if one of the polling...
I don't know who did it, but it was done. And whoever did it should be punished, should be penalized, because you have to set an example in this country that voting is a serious business. Elections are serious business, and it's not a game.
Finally, before you go, where will the NRP camp be tonight, watching the results and waiting the final results?
Well, I really can't tell you because we haven't planned anything.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Mr.
My
Parry.
pleasure.
All right. Leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, Mr. Joseph Parry, just casted his vote and expressing extreme confidence that he will retain the seat for the NRP. So now I'm here in Hensley's Road. We've been on the road at the various polling stations. I'm here with the NRP candidate for the Gingerland St. George's area here in Hensley's Road, Mr. Corey Tyson. First of all, Mr. Tyson, how has the day been so far?
It's been a hectic day. We've been up since 4:30, organizing drivers, organizing the agents and the workers. So it's been a hectic day. I'm happy that it's almost the ending of the closing of the polls, but we're feeling good. It's been a low turnout across the constituency, and I'm getting reports that it's a low turnout across the island as well. So it's going to be interesting. We are optimistic. We feel good, but it's left to be seen.
Right. Did you encounter any difficulties, any challenges, or anything that were a concern to you in the various polling stations you had visited?
Well, we had a few circumstances where we had people showing up with IDs, but their names weren't on the list. So far, the supervisor of elections has been very forthcoming and very understanding. He's been working with us so far over here in Gingerland, and we have no real complaints. We would have got that sorted. But it's left to be seen. I'm still collecting, voting receipts and that sort of thing. So it's still early. It's just about after 5. So I think this is crunch time. People are just getting off work. So this is where we'll see a pickup, hopefully. If not, then I think we'll be smiling when the results come in.
Right. Now you're up against a political newcomer, someone who you know personally as well, who has a lot of admiration for you, but is a newcomer nonetheless, and also in a constituency that has traditionally been for the CCM. How confident are you that you can actually beat Eric Evelyn?
Very, very, very. I've laid out over the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, my ideas, my plans, my proposals for a better Gingerland, and I believe it has resonated somewhat. However, I know it's it's a constituency that would have voted traditionally for the other side, so that's why I said it's hard to call, but we're feeling good.
All right. Mr. Tyson, thanks again for taking time out to speak with us, and we'll see what happens later.
Yes,
virtually our final stop for election coverage. Just about 25 minutes to go before the polls are closed. sknewsline.com on the go. I'm Andre Huey, and I'm here with the Concerned Citizens Movement candidate for the Gingerland St. George's area, Mr. Eric Evelyn, the first time newcomer to the political field. First of all, the question I ask all the candidates: how's the day been going so far?
I think the day has gone pretty well. I'm pretty satisfied with the way things have turned out. The turnout for St. George's seems pretty good. I know this morning early, from around between 7 and 8, we had a pretty heavy turnout, and then there was a little slow period in between, and then now, when it's almost time for the polls to close, you've seen an influx again. So I'm pretty satisfied in terms of the turnout today. Thank God we've had fantastic weather. I know it was a bit rainy this morning, but it held up well, and I think all in all, things look well, accident and incident free, and I'm pretty satisfied with the way things have gone so far today.
Right. Now, did you encounter any difficulties? Were there any matters or things that have happened that were of concern to you?
Not necessarily. I know there was one person who would have registered on time, and his name was not on the list, and I would have spoken to the supervisor of elections, and he was able to vote. But I think overall, I didn't encounter any major issues. I didn't have any complaints from any voters. The only problem was that some persons were still not aware as to where they were supposed to vote, and that is why at all of the meetings from, I think it was a Thursday to Sunday, I kept emphasizing where people are supposed to vote, but I guess some people still did not get the message, and so that was the only little issue. Persons were turning up to certain polling stations, to the wrong polling stations, but eventually were able to find their names and they were able to vote.
Right. Now, I spoke to your political opponent, Mr. Corey Tyson. I asked him how confident he was. He did express confidence that he could win. How confident are you that you could take the seat? This has been traditionally a CCM seat.
I'm extremely confident. I think the people of Gingerland of St. George know me very well. They know what I've done. They know my capability, and I'm absolutely confident that I will win this St. George seat overwhelmingly. Right.
Lastly, what do you think were the pressing issues in this constituency that you think people would have been voting on, and how much are you convinced that your message regarding those issues would have gotten across?
Well, the thing is, Premier, the Honorable Vance Amory, I am stepping into his shoes. He's retiring, and I know persons here in Gingerland have been saying that the Premier probably did not do enough, but I keep plugging that the thing is that the Premier was the Premier of the country, and the country was developing under him. So whether people felt whether or not that Gingerland was not getting enough, the thing is, I personally feel, and a lot of people here in Gingerland feel, that the Premier was doing his best for the overall development of the country. I know there are a lot of other issues here in Gingerland with regards to young people, regarding sporting facilities and so on, but I think the issues were properly addressed, and I think the people of Gingerland would have come out and voted in their numbers for me.
All right. Mr. Eric Evelyn of the CCM here in Gingerland. We're here actually at the Hard Times Community Center, and it's coming down to the close. We just have about 20 minutes to go before the polls actually close. So we continue to provide coverage. Of course, stay tuned to sknewsline.com and then our Facebook page, as we'll have live coverage. We're teaming up with Von Radio, and we're bringing you live coverage of the elections as the results come in tonight. Again, thank you again, Mr. Evelyn.
You're most welcome.
So we're coming to the close of our election day coverage. Well, not quite the close, because we do have the results coming in later, and we'll be providing live coverage of that, teaming up with Von Radio here in Nevis to provide you live coverage on our Facebook page and all our media platforms. But we're here in Hard Times at the community center here in Hard Times in the Gingerland area, and we are just about getting wrapped up. We did have a chance to speak with Mr. Brandley on the phone briefly. We saw him in Brown Pasture on his way out. He said he was getting to pick up, he was actually going to pick up voters to come out to vote as the polls are closing, and we just have about 15 minutes to go before the polls polls actually close. So he was busy with that. He didn't have time really to speak with us. But we had the chance to speak with other candidates. We spoke with Mr. Joseph Parry of the NRP, the leader of the NRP, Mr. Corey Tyson, also of the NRP, and Mr. Hensley Daniel. We spoke to him in Cox earlier this morning. And then we spoke with the CTM candidates, Mr. Evelyn, Mr. Alexis Jeffers, and we had the chance to speak with other persons pertaining to the Concerned Citizens Movement. So we're now getting ourselves ready for the results that are coming in. There will be, we should probably see results start coming in. The coverage will start about 8 o'clock on Von Radio. We'll be providing the live stream, we're taking the feed from them, and that will be on our Facebook page and also on our website. Whatever you do, stay locked on to sknewsline.com. It's not over. We'll continue to provide coverage, live coverage here of the Nevis Island elections. On behalf of the SK Newsline team on the ground in Nevis, I'm Andre Huey.